Before I started working with Mike, I never knew anybody that had over $1 billion in assets under management. And now I have, probably about a dozen of them in my phone that have reached that level.
Super cool, man.
And so it's a lot of fun to see these different projects. And that's one thing that we're doing in addition is we're creating more transparency in the industry.
Welcome to the Utah Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Peter Anthony. I'm really excited. I'm with my friend Christion Sadler, and we're going to be talking about real estate, investments, funds, really cool things that us, the human beings in Utah, have access to and can help grow our net worth by helping others. Christian's going to break it down. He's going to take us to the next level. But first, you have to share, you have to like, you have to subscribe, and leave some comments, man. Tell people about Utah business because we are killing it here in this state, and I'm excited to have Christion on. Christion, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
First and foremost, where can everybody find you and your company?
Yeah, so if you spell my name correctly, I'm really easy to find. It's just Christion with an I-O-N and then Sadler with one D. So Christion Sadler on all the socials. It's just the @ symbol in my name. And then Prei Share is also really easy to find. Same thing, spell it correctly. Preishare, Prei Share, easy to find.
Prei Share. And I love, man, we were breaking it down before we started recording. What you guys are doing in the space is so incredible. What should people know about Prei Share, Christion?
Well, so Prei Share, we are advocates for the passive investor. There's not a lot of people looking out for those poor millionaires, so to speak, but that's what drives our real estate market, especially in the commercial real estate world, is these private investments, people that are doctors, attorneys, business professionals that don't want to become real estate experts, but they want the advantages, the tax advantages, and the upside that can be gained through real estate. So we're really
and they need to diversify.
Absolutely.
They're experts at something, but they can't, it's hard to be an expert at two things simultaneously. So they shouldn't drop the ball in their primary. And what you're giving them is an opportunity to invest with someone who's an expert in real estate.
That's exactly right.
And then they get ridiculously good returns on that investment. Tell me, what does an investment with Prei Share look like? Why would I be attracted to it?
Well, so here's the thing. We don't just promote Prei Share investment, so to speak. We do have our own funds that are coming out. But what we've really been is we're in the middle of these two audiences. There's the audience of the passive investor that I was just talking about, but then there's the audience of the guys that are out there doing the hard work to create these passive opportunities. These are the guys and gals that are launching funds. They're buying commercial properties, multifamily properties. They're doing the big turnaround projects that take a tremendous amount of time, effort, and energy. And so we kind of fit in the middle of that. And there's just a risk to reward ratio that every investor has to look at. Oftentimes you can get a bigger return if you're willing to take a little bit more risk. If you want lower risk, like what we're doing with our private money fund, then maybe you're getting in the you're getting double digit, but you might not be in that 20 or 30% range. Whereas there's some opportunities out there where you can be there.
Wow. You mean somebody can actually make 20 or 30% on their money?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. Well, you guys got to start looking up stuff following Christion, man. And that's with an I-O-N at the end. I love that, Christion. So tell me about some of the cool deals that you guys have put together.
Yeah, so where we started was in the secondary space, which is basically if somebody put money into a deal and then they want it out early, there used to never be a place for them to get out. We created a platform where they could go find a private buyer for those positions.
So I can get in a deal this year, but if it has let's say a 5-year lifespan and I need to access my money, you've created in a year or 2 years, you've created a space where I can actually sell my position. Maybe I take a little less on it, but that's better for the person coming in because they see that the deal's already progressed. So they're buying into a more mature deal.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, so that's super cool. And you're right, it's never existed. So I really like those positions because then you're allowing that money to hit the market again. Like we were talking about, most of the commercial space money doesn't come from banks. It comes from the private sector,
Right.
in the medium to small commercial spaces. right? So I love that you've created that. But your founder was pretty um prolific is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Tell us about him.
Yeah, I mean, you say prolific, and I mean, he has his economic models that are now taught in the MRED programs and different things. He was one of the first data-driven real estate syndicators. He was syndicating real estate before it was cool, before, a lot of the laws have changed to make it more accessible. Him and his company, they did over $7 billion worth of value-add multifamily real estate over about 11 different states. One of the highest rated real estate syndicators, in the industry. And he sold that company about 7, 8 years ago now. Sold it to his business partner. Thought he was going to retire. They had over $1 billion in assets under management, and he says that retirement lasted him all of about half a cigar before before he realized,
I've measured my life on cigars. I love it, man.
There you go. Well, you
Yeah.
guys will have to meet. You guys, he's a connoisseur. So that's a lot of fun. We talk over the cigars. But anyways, he realized that retirement wasn't really something that he desired when he got to that point. He didn't want to sit around and watch life pass him by.
It's a hard thing, man. I exited my first company at 39 years old, and you're sitting there and you think that, you work so hard to get there. And then by the time you get there, you're like, man, is here where I really wanted to be.
Yeah.
And then you're there and you're like, no, I got to do more stuff, which is a blessing and a curse because you think because you exited, you're brilliant. Sometimes I bought into my own lack of brilliance, but your guy hasn't. And I love what he's doing and putting that together because we've helped so many realtors, developers, investors come together, but there isn't that secondary piece. It's tough because some people don't have the appetite for the 5 years. They think they do when they hear the ROI, but then within a year, life happens. 2 years, life happens, and you're like, "Oh, man," and you get antsy. And that underlying, antsiness, I'm just gonna call it, that antsiness that some of your investors have can create little cracks and crevices in the deal because as the as the developer or the entrepreneur put the deal together, that's not where you wanna be focusing your time.
Right.
You don't wanna be focusing your time managing people's emotions.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't wanna be going to raise capital to get them out of a position that is performing when you're probably trying to scale and buy your next acquisition.
Oh my gosh, you get it. That's so many of our clients are in that position. So here's the thing, man. If you guys are out there and you love real estate, and Utah has an appetite for real estate, right? And I love that you're doing it all over the country. It's not Utah driven deals, right? Yeah, so that's super cool. And it's funding. You were telling me anything from entry level deals at about 1 million plus all the way to 20 or 30 million.
Absolutely, and even bigger than that. I before I started working with Mike, I never knew anybody that had over $1 billion in assets under management, and now I have, probably about a dozen of them in my phone that have reached that level and
Super
that
cool,
scale.
man.
And so it's a lot of fun to see these different projects. And that's one thing that we're doing in addition is we're creating more transparency in the industry. So we don't just represent those secondaries. In fact, a big portion of what we do right now is help people raise capital for their newest acquisition. But before anybody can be on our platform, before we're going to bring them into our studio and host them and have them talk to our audience, we take them through a sponsor disclosure process. We want to weed out those people that have, that sneak into the industry and they go unnoticed because a lot of people don't do their due diligence. So we create ways for passive investors to do good due diligence on who they're working with and the markets that they're working
And
with.
that's your reputation. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're maintaining your reputation, bringing quality people on both sides,
Absolutely.
or in some cases on all three sides, right? I love that you're doing that because, again, most people don't. A tremendous amount of real estate development here in Utah, especially, it's done on a handshake.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, we're in the same ward, or it's a cousin of somebody who's in my ward, right?
Right, right.
And we've been rewarded here in the state for bad behavior. You've had 25 years of upside real estate growth here that's been unprecedented in the country.
Right.
And where this valley has increased exponentially. It's more than doubled in the last 20 years in citizenship, which is, it's good. That means everybody bought farms and then turned them into developments. Now there's no more farms, so people have to get more, they have to get smarter. So I love it. So tell me a little bit, why would someone get involved with you versus some investing their money somewhere else?
Well, I think it really comes down to they're going to get involved with us because they want to have better market intelligence. They want to be more thorough in their due diligence, right? Again, we're advocates for those passive investors. We're allies to the good sponsors, but we're really advocating for those passive investors. And most of the time, like you said, they're not doing real thorough. I mean, most of them don't do a background check at all, let alone do any, really due diligence on who the person is that they're investing with. And it really harms the industry as a whole, because every time somebody gets into a bad deal, especially if it's one of their first transactions and they didn't truly understand the risk, they start blaming the industry, and it gives a bad name to everybody else involved.
Sure.
Whereas real estate, of course, is the most forgiving asset class there is out there, right?
And if you hold on to it long enough, it's generally going to go up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's super cool, man. What is the one thing that people should know if they were investing with you that but they don't know, and it doesn't wind up in your marketing, but if they knew, they'd invest faster?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. Because I've learned so much over the last 5 years. I feel like my brain has just, completely expanded, and that's being in real estate investing for 20 years prior. So, I would say when it really comes down to it, there's there's a trade-off, and a lot of people don't realize it. And I didn't realize this early on. I used to teach people and train people to get into real estate, and oftentimes they did have another career that was doing well. And we were talking about getting them into buying a rental, or, doing these things that are never truly passive. If you have to be the owner and the operator, it's never truly passive.
Never truly passive. Having had 60 properties, it is never passive.
Yeah, and there's people out there that are building these projects, and oftentimes they're giving up 60, 70, 80, sometimes even 90% of the upside. We're talking about the upside of the gains, we're talking about the upside of the tax benefits, all of it to the passive investors. So if there's that opportunity out there, why would you ever be going out there and trying to own and manage your own real estate, right? So that's one of the biggest, changes in my mindset, of realizing that there's really true passive
There's more
investments out there.
upside in the passive when you compare it. I think what you're saying is there's more upside very often in the passive than there is in the active, because the active has to manage the project,
Yeah,
which is never as cheap as you think it's going to be
right.
in time and cash flow and energy, right? But in the passive, I give you my dough and I make dough, and I don't have to worry. I'm going to get a check.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's a smarter way to look at it.
And when you're building wealth in the beginning, when you don't have anything, I started in my early 20s coming out, raised by a single mom, you're always just trying to leverage other people's money, right? What you realize is at some point you want to get on the other side of that, where instead of trying to leverage other people's money, you're leveraging other people's time, because time is the most valuable asset that we
I
have.
love that. Instead of leveraging people's money, leverage their time. Very smart, young man. I like that a lot, Christian. So again, how can people find you?
Yeah, just reach out to us. I mean, literally grab us on any of the socials. We're really easy to find. Grab me, Christion Sadler, Christion, with one D on the Sadler, or jump and grab us on Prei Share. We'd love to chat with you.
Christian, man, it's been great having you on. I want to share one last thing. My feeling towards what you're doing is just, it's an incredible asset to the community. When you have the opportunity to come into an investment that's already been vetted, that's already been cleared by someone who's done billions in investments and has a reputation of their own to maintain, that these are going to be better opportunities than somebody that you met at a networking group that you don't know. So look up Christian, find out what he's doing, get in touch with him. Real estate is still, for me, it's better than gold. People are always going to need a place to live. They're always going to need a place to work. And we're always going to have more babies, especially in Utah. Christian, thank you for being on the podcast, brother.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
It is our pleasure. Utah Business Spotlight. Like, subscribe, share, and most importantly, Share these Utah businesses, comment, get in touch with people, let people know that there are still great opportunities and great businesses to connect with here in Utah.